Hello everybody, welcome to the Saroy channel. I've got a very exciting story for you tonight and it comes from Sandra, all the way from Alberta. So let's get started. Dear Sarah, I'm writing to tell you about my Bigfoot encounter that happened about 5 years ago in the spring of 2015. It was 2 o'clock in the morning and my cell phone started to ring, and that always creeps me out. I always get this horrible feeling when you get a call so early in the morning that I'm about to get the most horrendous news. I was not wrong. My sister phoned me to tell me that a very close friend of mine had just passed away suddenly. Her parents had found her only an hour earlier, just lying there deceased. No one knew what caused her untimely demise. I knew for a fact that she had no pre-existing health conditions, so her sudden death was an enigma to all of us. To say I was devastated was an understatement, because this friend of mine was as good as a sister to me. I literally curled up into a fetal position on the floor and I cried and I cried. Finally, I got it together and called my friend Bella, who lived right next door to me. I knew she would really understand the emotional turmoil I was going through. "Hello, is that you, Sandra?" I heard her say. "Why are you phoning me so early? Goodness gracious, it's 4 in the morning, you know." "Brittany's dead," I told her. "I'm coming over now," she said. "I'll be there in a second. Keep it together, hold it together, I'll be there now." The next thing I knew, Bella was taking me into her loving arms and comforting me, and we both had a long cry together. "I know, let's go for a drive," she said suddenly. "Why don't we take a scenic route? I think some fresh air and scenery will help us get some perspective." It seemed like a great idea. It was still dark outside, but I could see the early glimmers of the morning sunrise. We drove a very scenic route, and we enjoyed the beautiful views. "Oh, I love those old redwood trees," sighed Bella. "Some of them have had several human lifetimes, you know. Do you know they're the most resilient of all trees because they can bounce back from any major damage? It's hard for them to die, you know." "I wish we could be as resilient," I said. "Oh, but we are," said Bella. "As raw as you may be feeling now, you'll bounce back like a redwood tree. It's only a matter of time. Time is the greatest healer, you know. You'll never forget, Brittany. But the pain will lessen, I promise you it will." I started to cry again, and Bella pulled over to the side of the road to comfort me. "I know it's hard," she said. "But why, oh why," I cried. "Why Brittany of all people? She of all people did not deserve this to happen to her." Just then we heard this humongous roar. "Ah! Ah!" It sounded just like a lion, and then it happened again. "Ah!" "Did you hear that?" said Bella, looking aghast. In a second my tears had dried up and my attention was aroused. "What the hell was that?" I asked. We heard the roar again, and then we saw this large, gargantuan, dark form running from the tree line. As it was a fair distance away, we thought for a moment that it might have been a man. "What on earth is a guy doing in the woods at this time?" said Bella, looking at her watch. "It's 5:10, she said. Suddenly we saw the creature coming in our direction as he moved as fast as the wind, with a bounce to his step. "What the heck is that?" said Bella. "It's way too large to be a man." The man-like being, or whatever he was, seemed to be chasing something small, keeping his eyes peeled to the ground like an owl hovering over its prey. As he did this, he was venturing closer to us, so we finally had a good view of him. Suddenly he pounced on the thing in the grass with lightning speed and seized it in his large, dexterous hands. He pounded the bird, and then he squatted on the floor. He proceeded to tear away the feathers one by one, placing them in a neat pile beside him. He then ate the bird like it was a candy bar, bones and all. Bella and I looked on in astonishment, hardly believing what we were seeing with our naked eyes. Even the thought of Brittany's death was momentarily postponed as we were transfixed by this creature. But what was he, we wondered? And then in unison we both said at the same time, "It's a Bigfoot!" The creature was bipedal, but I bet he could run on all fours, because like a monkey he had long arms that went way beyond his knees. His hands looked almost human. I noticed his body was covered with dark brown hair that looked matted and horrible, as if he'd been rolling around in the mud. The creature was about 7 foot tall, and when he stood erect, he had a large chest that tapered down towards slender hips and long, lean, muscular legs. The creature must have felt our stares or just sensed us looking at him, because he looked up at us as he was eating, momentarily surprised, as if suddenly caught off guard. But he continued to eat while staring at us a little longer, with those curious, brown, inquisitive eyes. His face had a humanness to him, but he was not human. Yet I could sense that he had superior intelligence compared to other animals. Our gazes locked into a kind of hypnotic kind of trance, and then the creature turned away, and in seconds he was gone, with his half-eaten bird still in his hands. Bella and I marvelled at what we had seen, and we knew it was a privilege to witness something like this. The next day we decided we would venture in the woods to just see if we could see any more signs of the creature. We did find a nesting area strewn with bones and animal carcasses, and we did see tree snaps, but nothing else, nor did we smell anything. I did think my encounter with the Bigfoot did help in my grieving process over Brittany's death, because I wasn't just dwelling over the death, but also meditating on the Bigfoot sighting and what I had seen that day. I was in awe of the creature, because although primitive in many ways, he did have a humanness to him. To cut a long story short, the autopsy revealed that Brittany had died from a brain aneurysm. So there you are. There was a Bigfoot encounter that I shall never forget. I hope your listeners and you enjoyed my story. Thank you very much for that really wonderful story. Until next time, good night.